Hi everybody, welcome to the video. This is a response to a short clip put out by the Premier of Tasmania, Jeremy Rockliff. And I think it was just 24 seconds, but in that 24 seconds he said that the Iran war had been poorly executed, which was an interesting statement. I was just wondering how it should have been executed according to him. How should the Iran war have been executed, Colonel Rockliff? I think the more correct statement would have been to say that it should not have been executed at all, that it was a huge moral crime. Of course, Mr. Rockliff could never say such a thing. Well, I don't think it would even occur to him to say that, but even if it did, it might mean that his party would lose some funding heading into the next election. Okay, he also said that the world was hurting, Australia was hurting, and Tasmania was hurting. Okay, what about Iran? You'd think you would single out Iran. That's where the tens of thousands of bombs and missiles are landing. You know, Iran, where they bombed the school, where your Zionist masters and allies bombed the school and killed over 100 school children and their teachers, where they're bombing universities, bombing hospitals, healthcare clinics, where they're bombing public officials just like you, Mr. Rockliff, blowing them to pieces. Perhaps it would have been right to single out Iran as hurting, and Lebanon, by the way, as well. But, you know, that would be a bit beyond your ken, wouldn't it, to actually have empathy for people in foreign countries being murdered by Zionists. And even if you did, you probably couldn't say anything, because then your party might lose its funding. Oh, and I noticed Eric Abetz sitting right behind you as he made those comments. A peculiar expression on his face. Why do you have Mr. Abetz in your cabinet if you have an issue with these wars? I mean, these warmongers get away with it because people like you just treat them like normal people after the act. You've rewarded Mr. Abetz with a spot in your cabinet. You didn't object to him being a candidate. Mr. Abetz was an Iraq War era, John Howard era senator who ridiculed the idea there were WMDs in Iraq. You also got Guy Barnett in your cabinet who flooded the Senate with lies about Iraq as he made the case for war in 2003 as a senator. Perhaps you should tidy up your own backyard, Mr. Rockliff. I mean, you have the power to do that. You might not have the power to change things over at the Persian Gulf, but you could tidy up your own backyard and get rid of those two people from your cabinet. Better yet, you ought to try and get them expelled from the party. Of course you won't, because you're a Zionist, I'm sure, just like them. And you don't want to make waves, you don't want to lose funding, you don't want to stand up to the machine, because you're a part of it. You said you want the war to end. Well, it would have been nice if people like you would have spoken out before the war started. You know, people like you who actually have influence. And you only want it to end now that it's going badly, right? You only want it to end because Western governments, like your government, are going to come under a lot of pressure as the energy crisis bites. Isn't that right? You're motivated by self-interest. When we go into recession, and I'd say that's very likely, and when fuel shortages really bite, and they will if this strait is closed for much more than another month or two, it's going to be really hard for you to raise revenue and pay off all that debt. It's going to be really hard to pay for all the projects that you're committed to. This ridiculous stadium that you and all the other Bulgarians have been obsessing over for months and months or years now. Anyway, I'll leave it there. just wanted to make those comments. Thanks for watching.